and welcome to another episode of the Black and White Thinking podcast. You are joined by Chick and G.
Hello. You got it right this time?
I did. I had to think about it, and I kept reminding myself. But yeah, how's it going?
All right, another working week done.
Yep.
Big match tomorrow.
Big mass, yeah, another funeral tomorrow. It's actually wild. And then we've got a memorial mass in a few weeks.
End of the month, yeah.
So that's 2 of my church visits tick.
Is it?
Yep. Look,
Just any church?
It doesn't matter what church it is, yeah. As long as I'm praising the Lord. So I don't want it to be funerals all the time, but...
Well, you play the cards you're dealt.
Well, exactly, that's what I was going to say. Well, I wanted to say...
No, you weren't going to say that.
No, I wanted to say that, but my mind was going, what?
Your mind was telling you no.
Yeah. Oh, ridiculous. Anyway, right, so do you remember what this week's topic is? Because we were supposed to record this the other day and then...
Marriage.
Oh, you do? Nice. Yeah, marriage. Right, so we're talking about marriage. You didn't ask me how I've been. You did this last time.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, so we're talking about marriage today. So if anyone is new here, the premise of this podcast is...
We pick a topic, debate it, and choose a side. Essentially, sometimes it'll be 2 things, like brown versus white bread, or we did Black History Month, for or against. So it could be choosing between 2 things or choosing for or against one thing. Yeah. But you can't sit in the fence.
Yeah. So by the end of the podcast, we have to agree. Well, not agree, sorry. We have to choose a side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous. And it comes from the psychological term of black and white thinking.
Correct.
It cannot be one or the other. Even though we never referred to that, I realised.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Really, it's the state of mind you can get into often if you have like depression, anxiety, things like that, where you think in black and white terms and there's no middle ground.
Yeah, perfect.
But hopefully this is a bit more of a healthy approach to that than the actual black and white thinking.
Well, I'd hope so, because...
And also...
Oh, go on, sorry.
You're black and I'm white, so...
Oh, yeah, that too. If anyone's watching, we are. If you're listening, in case you didn't know, surprise! Actually, the Black History Month one already, especially on TikTok, has done quite well. Well, obviously, it's Black Month History in America and
Black Month History.
Black History Month in America, and our TikTok audience is mostly American, so that kind of also makes sense. But I enjoyed that one. Nice. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. Marriage. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to start because I knew what you were going to do in this conversation. So I'm going to start with a literal definition of marriage. So,
enlighten me.
It says, marriage is the legally or formally recognized union of 2 people as partners in a relationship, historically in some jurisdictions, specifically a union between a man and a woman. That's all it says. But obviously we know that historically it was basically a deal that was met. Yeah. That was made between...
You were passed from one owner to another.
But it was for a specific reason. So to join 2 families and make more money, to be more powerful, those types of things. So even... Do you know what actually made me laugh? I forgot to tell you this. Actually, I'm glad I'm telling you this on here. My grandpa, for those of you that don't know, was a chief. And when I was younger, my dad joked about how I was promised to someone, but it was someone that my dad's actually friends with because they've got
their son.
Their son, yeah, obviously, not the
well,
dad, not during.
Not like it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true, but obviously, when I say dad, the fact that I'm currently sat here with you,
especially in your motherland.
It's
true.
Well, to be fair, people think
you'll oftentimes get, especially in rural areas, you'll still get young girls married to older men.
Yeah, didn't I just tell you that the law in Zambia only just changed so that children can't marry basically old men? Yeah, which is wild on its own. But so that's historically what marriage would have been. So how do you feel about marriage? For or against it?
I would be for it.
Okay.
Well, why are you surprised that I'm for it? You're confusing the fact that I think weddings are pointless.
No, I'm confusing the fact that I thought you were going to say what marriage actually means. You don't like the old meaning.
Well, I mean,
Therefore, you are against
yeah, but
literally what marriage stands for. Because again, the whole like walking me down the aisle, that's my dad's making sure that I don't run off.
giving you away.
Yeah, giving me away is making sure that he's there in case I try and run off.
Well, he'd have to give you away, I don't have any money to give him.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
paying the
but
dowry.
it doesn't mean that anymore, and it especially doesn't mean that in the modern context.
Yeah.
So,
Or our union, especially.
well, I mean, I guess it means different things in different places. I imagine there's still places in the world where it's still related to perhaps some sort of upward social mobility, or as you said, joining two families together.
Were we watching there's something about the Samsung family? And that was talking about the fact that they were all paired off with,
I don't think so.
oh, maybe it was just me then. But yeah, even like you're saying, even now, it is still going on.
I mean, I suppose in respect of like forced marriages, obviously nobody's for that,
Yeah.
and I don't imagine that ever really works out well for one or both parties involved in a forced marriage.
Yeah.
I guess even an arranged marriage, I imagine the odds of that working out properly and healthily aren't great.
But you'd be surprised though, because from the
No,
arranged
I don't
marriage.
imagine I would.
No, but from the obviously forced marriage, we're just going to remove that one altogether and just go, that one's an obvious. Clearly, that's a definite no. But in terms of arranged marriages, it is two people going into, for the ones that agree it, and I'm saying this because there's that Indian matchmaking thing, and there are a few, like it's still a practice that carries on. For the people that have an understanding of what they're getting into, it works for some people. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, for me, marriage is just an agreement between the two of us like, no offense, I absolutely adore you and I love you. However, the way that yeah, and I'd like to hope you know that, but I have been systemizing our lives, and I guess when I was coming to meet, around the time I was meeting you, I was very clear on what I wanted from a relationship moving forward and from a marriage, because I'm someone that does want to get married and now know why I want to get married, and it's nothing to do with family or culture. But I needed to know that and put things in place, and I've been putting those things in place. So I've been very anal about certain things and putting certain things in place, and to be fair, you've dealt with it all very well. But I do think there is an element of it that's very like, I think whilst I'm for marriage, I don't think people go into marriage for the right reasons. However, something like an arranged marriage, you're going into it knowing why you've been set up together. So it could be that, yes, your parents know that there could be a love that forms, or it's just, we think you two would get on, would be able to communicate together, would be good parents. So they might not, that love might come over time, but they go into it understanding what they're signing up for sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't really agree. I think arranged marriages in countries where they still arrange marriages are very much the parents probably doing it because that's what you do, and you have to marry your child off. I guess I imagine more so. Well, I don't know, maybe, but like daughters, get your daughter married off.
Oh yeah, well, that's a daughter and son, I suppose.
Um,
But there's more pressure on the daughter by a particular age in a lot of countries.
but I suppose you see it a lot where you'll hear like people say, "Oh, it's about time
Yeah.
you got married."
Yeah.
Like that's never the way to go into it.
Yeah.
And probably more so men propose because like they feel they have to,
Yeah, like it's the next step.
rather than because they necessarily want to.
Yeah.
And again, you'll hear that thing of, "Oh, we've been together 5 years. It's probably about time I did it anyway."
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like if that's your approach to it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
But I suppose there's an element too of like maybe I imagine from your side of like a religious element to it, because isn't that to some degree where it's like that like religious union under God, if you like, of joining two people together.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But on my
Because
side,
you want to get married by a priest,
yeah,
and I personally don't care who does it.
yeah, that's true. But I guess I want to get married by a priest more so because I love our church and the look of it. But if I'm being completely honest, it doesn't matter who marries us. I just want to make sure that I get my sacraments as normal. So even if we went and got married somewhere else by someone else, like we've talked about eloping, we've looked at that and then just went, Jesus Christ, that's too much of an effort. So we will just get married here and then do whatever else we need.
What, do you have to take a communion or something when you get married?
So this is the conversation with my mum right now, with Mlenga sorting out his blessing. If you don't get a blessing by the church, so it's not that you can't get married anywhere else, but if you don't come back and get a blessing by the church after a certain amount of time, you're technically not classed as a Catholic anymore. So the next sacrament you would get, coming to dying and the priest coming to visit you, you don't get those same things. You're technically not supposed to be able to get communion and stuff anymore.
Harsh.
You can still go to church. It is harsh. It was very harsh. So like I've got a cousin and they didn't get it done within a specific amount of time. And this is why I've also been very clear with you from the beginning of like how I'd want things to be. Not that I'm not open to us discussing things and coming up with stuff together.
Well,
no.
To me, the marriage begins after the paperwork.
Whereas I think that the marriage, to me, our marriage has started slightly before the paperwork.
It's set up. The foundations are set up prior to that. And obviously, I feel like you need to have a good foundation.
Yeah.
And a want to commit to the other person.
Yeah.
Rather than you do it because that's what you do at a certain point in your life.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's pointless. Marriage is based on the fact that, oh, we've been together 10 years, we might as well do it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Then just don't do it. But for me, the marriage can be as simple as the bit of paper. Because if you're already committed to somebody, what does it matter?
Sorry, there was a little malfunction and we had to cut out. But anyway, carrying on with the conversation.
When I said that the marriage can just be a bit of paper and then you carry on with the rest of your lives.
Yeah, and I was
happily
saying,
ever after.
But I was saying, for me, marriage, like the reason I want to get married in a church, as well as obviously the religious side, and I still want to be a Catholic, and in general I want us to celebrate with people, is because I want to celebrate our love. I've not gone through all the crap I've gone through with men to not be like, yes, I've got one. But that's literally, like, that's how I feel about marrying you. And when I was reading a statistic, I should have saved this, that was talking about the fact that, if anything, there are people that think that living together before you get married is the best thing to do, but actually, most people that live together before marriage get divorced, but that's because they decide, oh, it's just the next logical step. So because they've been together for so long, let's move in together. Or especially at the moment, most people can't afford to live on their own. So if you are dating someone that you get on with, you then go, next logical step would be to move in together. That makes sense. However, after that, people then don't start thinking about what that'll be. So when people talk about, oh, my husband changed after we had kids because all of a sudden he's getting jealous that the kids are getting more attention than he is, or he was great until we got married, or he was great up until I got pregnant, like those types of things. For me, I feel like I've tried to be very clear on my expectations of you as a partner, because, and it's funny because I've always said this to the people I've dated, I don't see a difference between how I treat you before or after we date. And when I met you, I've really had to practice what I preach, because I stopped believing that. Because I just started thinking, why would I keep pouring into someone's cup that could eventually just get up and go?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to sit there and go, yeah, but that might happen. However, if I don't pour into you the way that I feel like I want to and should, and I don't get the same back from you the way I feel like I want to or should. Like I never want to be in a relationship and think I'm holding back because I'm afraid. And I've had to have a lot of those conversations with myself. But also I sit there and tell you, like I told you when I want to get married. I told you when I want us to get engaged by. Like you've got your own little timeline, ticking time bomb. Not because I feel like I don't want to force you to do something you don't want to do, but I've been there nearly 6 years with someone where nothing was changing. So I don't want to, as much as I love you, I also don't want to waste my time because I could be happy on my own. I could, as I've learned from with you, you never know when you're going to meet someone or when things are going to happen. So unless you are serious about me, I've been very clear, be serious or go away. Like there's no in between. So whilst I do value marriage, I think a lot of people don't have enough of the difficult discussions and plan out how they want things to be and how they want things to look. Because I think sometimes that's also part of the problem. Like I look at, so one of the things that I don't agree with as well, and this is why I wanted us to live together before we got married, I've seen a lot of family members get married and stay married for the wrong reasons. Like my mum and dad love each other. They are best friends to the point where when I became their third wheel, it made me feel like complete and utter crap. Imagine spending Valentine's Day with your parents, seeing them all loved up and your dad cooking for your mum and planning all this stuff.
I mean, you could have just stayed on your own.
Yeah, but it was also during the pandemic and that was a very difficult time anyway. So I could have been on my own and just cried on my own or watched two people that are still madly in love but enjoying themselves. Like it was just they're the only ones I've got to look at where I go, I love their relationship and how they, like, don't get me wrong, both of them aren't perfect, but it's nice that they've got a friendship and I've always wanted to have a friendship.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted that to be the same with like my parents. Look at the way that you are with mum and dad, because to me a marriage isn't just about, I know it's a union of two people, but it's a union of two families.
Yeah.
I made it like, even when I started dating again, I said to myself, I am not going to date someone if mother doesn't like them. And I made sure you met my family very quickly because again, I didn't want to waste time or get myself to a point where I knew how stubborn I am, where I knew I'd fall in love with you. And if someone said something and they were seeing something I wasn't seeing, I then carried it on and wasted my own time because I realised I could be happy on my own. So I do think there's still a level of people get married for the wrong reasons, but also people stay in relationships because of the wrong reasons and because of society. You talked earlier on about people saying, oh, it's about time. When I ended things with my ex, the amount of people, and Isa were going, oh, but you were so close to getting married and having kids and doing all those things.
You should have done it anyway. Well, that's what they're saying, isn't it? You were so close, you should have just done it anyway, regardless of the consequences. I think people can often be a little bit naive about what it means, or that it'll be a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
Or, you know, that thing of, like, people do those big things because they think it'll make things better.
Yeah.
But if the foundation isn't there to begin with, then marriage is a terrible idea.
Yeah, it really is. Because all it is just, it's stress upon stress.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but I think that, you know, if you don't have a marriage based on the right reasons to begin with, it's never going to be what you expected it to be after that.
Yeah. But by stress upon stress, I mean the practicalities of marriage. I think when it's just the two of you, great. But like I said, you are doing more than joining two people. Whether you like it or not, there are, no matter how distant you are from family members or how close you are, they at some point become involved or try to become involved. Then comes kids, and that is its own headache, costly, mentally, physically. So it is that decision. I always look at that, us choosing to get married and potentially have kids is a selfish decision, but also one that could be detrimental to us as people. But we make that choice because we're making an informed choice and making a plan of what will this look like. Like, I don't think you can make a plan for everything, but I think we're quite realistic as people and what we expect our partner to be able to do for us when those things arise. But I also kind of think, I feel like as much as I say like we communicate, I feel like a lot of it just also hasn't been said. It's been through actions. So you kind of just know that when that conversation does come up, it's then not a big issue because we've already been practicing what.
Well, yeah, because then people can sometimes hide who they are.
Yeah.
And then when they're married, feel like they don't have to make an effort to continue to hide what they may see as negative traits or things they haven't worked on. So they get married and then someone goes, oh, they're a totally different person now that we're married.
Yeah.
It's because they feel like you're locked in.
Yeah, that's so true.
And you know, it should be a lifelong commitment. But it shouldn't be a lifelong commitment based on a lie.
Yeah.
It's probably see a lot that if you dug deep enough, some marriages are based on a lie, in that one or both parties haven't been really honest about who they are as people and their intentions of how they mean to go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, particularly now that there's less of outside influence on people getting married, maybe more so that's in the Western world.
Yeah.
But our more liberal societies. But if it's on your own terms and it's been set up with a good foundation and the intentions are good and honest, then fundamentally it's a good thing. And it's something that I do want. I could absolutely live without a wedding. But I definitely do. You know, marriage is something I have wanted. I've seen good examples of it.
Yeah.
So like I do see it as a positive thing for me. So
yeah, same.
I mean, I would say I am for it. And I do think it is a good thing and can be a good thing, but it's not something to ever be taken for granted. And that once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
It's like an ongoing. It's you know, it's just ongoing.
Yeah, but I think I also appreciate like when we first started dating, we both were very clear about like therapy on our own and therapy as a couple. But I look at that as we are constantly changing as people. When Eliza was born, I was not expecting, like you hear people say that when a kid's born or they have a child that they birth or like they've got their own kid now, it changes the dynamics of like their relationships with the family and whatever else. I felt that with Eliza because all of a sudden I was looking at Dad and going, he'd always made it very clear, once my grandchild is born, you are irrelevant. But I really felt irrelevant. Now, I know he would never ever, like, he's always joked about it, and he never would mean to make me feel like that.
Irrelevant's the wrong word.
But he said irrelevant.
Yeah, but he didn't mean that.
Yeah, he's never meant it, and he did joke about it. But it made me question even how...
I mean, Eliza's just definitely his favourite, but definitely not irrelevant. Because, you know, when, like, you talk to him, all he talks about really, or worrying about his kids first. Yeah. And also they're worrying about what the future holds for Eliza.
Yeah.
But I think that's natural, you know.
But that challenged me a lot. And that wasn't my child. And that wasn't the first niece or nephew that's been born in our family either that I dote on.
Yeah, but it's his first...
Yeah, it's his first grandchild.
You know, full grandchild.
Yeah, but that's what I mean as in, the way that changed those dynamics, it was for me a reminder that no matter what, I'm constantly growing as a person, I'm evolving as a person. And that will mean that whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, like I know for a fact, and I know I've been talking about like going back to therapy, but yeah, when you propose I'm going straight back to therapy because one, I know that I have my own issues, but as you've said, you can take or leave you can leave the marriage part, the wedding part. You don't care about that part at all. And I felt like we've come to a lot of compromises and I see our wedding being very, very different to what I ever expected it to, like my wedding to look like. And I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. But I just want to make sure that in how I communicate things with you and how I see those things, that I'm not doing it in a way that is causing tension with us when actually it's nothing to, like it's not an us problem, do you know what I mean? Because there will be the traditional part of it, the religious part of it, other people having their own opinions and how they expect things to be, and
I don't care about that.
Yeah, you definitely don't. But as much as I don't want to care, I can't always just ignore that type of stuff. So I think for me, marriage is, whilst I'm for marriage, I still have that caveat of there's a lot you need to put in place. I think those foundations as well aren't as simple as those foundations of you as a couple. The foundations are of who you are as a person and how you see yourself at that time. And being able to communicate that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like when you get married, you are then your own family.
Yeah.
And the other people are relatives.
And yeah, I know you say that, but I still
No,
look
but
at
they are.
Mlinga's getting
No,
married.
I know, but I mean, like, the more, like, obviously there's that inner circle of, like, your immediate family.
Yeah.
But anybody else, and whatever opinion they may have or want to give, it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I think what matters is the two people who have decided to get married and how they move forward, and people can either support that
Yeah.
or not, and the ones who decide not to or have a different opinion, I have no interest in hearing what they have to say.
That's one thing I really do appreciate about you, because I feel like you have my back in a way where you're so honest as a person. You know who you are, but also if and when that time comes for us, you speak to me in such a respectful way about things that it then doesn't make it scary to voice my own opinion or realise that actually what I thought I was feeling about a situation and it being about me, it's about other people. And it's funny because I had Lynn on my podcast, and she moved to Canada, had gotten engaged, was planning a big wedding, and then found out she was pregnant, and then just went and did a little service. And she'd voiced that what she wanted to do. Certain people weren't getting on board, and she's like, I know myself as a person. I'm not waiting for permission. I know what I'm doing. I've informed you. And especially in African cultures, this is the one thing that worried me about my wedding that I'm not as worried about now. That once people know that you want to get married and start getting involved in planning certain things, then they think that they're just going to do it the way that their elders did for them. Because so for like my wedding, it would be my mum, my aunties, like that's their wedding now because they got someone else planned theirs and did certain things. Whereas I'm like, no, that's not how I see.
Yeah, but that's weddings. That's all wedding stuff.
Yeah, but they also
That's not what we're talking about.
But because of culture, they're also involved in the marriage part.
Oh, they're absolutely not.
But this is what I mean.
If you allow them to be, fine, but they're absolutely not. It's nobody's business.
But so I've made a step and I was texting my auntie the other day to talk to my auntie about the traditional steps that are taken, because I never want it to be an argument with my mum and dad. They're the only ones that matter. I want someone to teach me what's expected and why and what the teachings are, because I want to do something culturally because it's going to help our marriage.
Sure, I found you the website.
Yeah, you found the website, but...
Takes you through step by step.
Yeah, but different different tribes, different things.
That's all, to me, that's all still wedding stuff. That's by the by.
No, but that wedding stuff, the teachings and whatever else, there are certain things, like the way that my dad is now, and he says that nothing should happen without us talking about it as a family.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that's all stuff that starts from culture. So I want to understand where some of the things they've taken stuff from, where that comes from, and what we will then take on, like you're saying, in our family, in our marriage. Because some of it is just for the wedding day, period, and some of it will be for our marriage. But again, there's a blurred line in how some people see that.
Yeah, that's all wedding-y stuff. I don't really, obviously there's traditional things that I will try and do because...
Of me?
Well, yeah, but also, we're at a point where, your parents are important to me too, so...
Yeah.
If there's things that need to be done, or not even need, if there's things that are important in that whole process, then fine, I'll try and do them. But again, does that matter in terms of the long-term marriage? All that really matters is the two people who are married and how they move forward together.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is secondary.
Yeah, it's true.
But it seems like we're both in favour of
Yeah,
marriage, but in the way that we've outlined it, in that it's up to us.
Yeah.
And how it's been set up is important, and if it's been set up correctly, and it's people are entering into it willingly and well-meaning, then I feel like it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, totally agree. Can't wait to marry you. Hey.
You should be so lucky.
Yeah, I am. It's happening. Great. Okay, right.
Oh, it looks so long already.
No, I hate it when you look at this and do that.
The longest things.
Because they're all long. This is actually a short one.
Well,
right,
you
so
should summarise.
We've decided, no, because I'm not doing what you do, because you forget that I'm the one that runs our marketing, so this also gives us extra content as well as an engagement piece.
All right.
But also gives people an insight into our relationship. Whilst we've talked about marriage, there's lots of, like, the stuff that we don't just tell people. But I think we have an interesting relationship and we don't do things because you're supposed to do them. So that's why I like these. But yeah, I picked a short one anyway. So we're going to do Reddit. And this is someone looking for some relationship advice. I've not read this, by the way. So this says, I need to check my perspective. Did I, 30 female, just throw away everything with my boyfriend, 30 male, because of a simple question? So I, 30 female, and my boyfriend, 30-something male, have been together 2 and a bit years. Ooh, nearly like us. We very recently moved in together too, but it's been a terrible ride, culminating in this moment. Jesus. We fight over so much. Straight away red flag. Just before I moved in, literally gave up my house and was packed to move within a day or so. We had a night out and got stuck out somewhere beyond our control, and he had a huge angry issue over it all. He blamed me for it happening, despite the fact that I cannot control the weather. I moved in, and this is written so badly. I moved in, and the day I moved in, he left to go somewhere for a pre-arranged week, though I had no idea where he was actually staying or anything. When he came back, he was just pushing me away. Planned another week away and refused to let me join him. It's where I blew off steam, is what he said. There I am, moved into his place, but he treated me like everything I did was wrong. Everything I did was met with, I don't do it like that. Do it like I do it. And I haven't felt very welcome, and our relationship has really struggled. We had this holiday booked, but every time we tried to arrange anything to do with it, it created more fighting. He said I wasn't engaging with the planning. I wasn't communicating so well because everything I suggested gets shot down. So my confidence to speak up has really eroded with him. We flew to somewhere nice and hot. It was beautiful. He planned a lot of the days, and I can totally get his frustration at doing the bulk of the planning. But here's the kicker. We did something physically arduous. I'm talking straight up. I straight up had arduous. Is that not what I just said?
You said arduous.
Oh, sorry, arduous.
Also, this is just proof that you need to read these before you do this.
Yeah, definitely. But that's fine.
Taking way too long.
It's not taking way too long, excuse you. No, you're taking longer because... Do you know what? This is our level of arguing. I like this. I'm talking straight up, had a panic attack over it. And once we got back, he snapped from Mr. Supportive to Mr. Aggressive again. I said we mustn't forget to go to the shops for water, and he snapped. Where do you think I'm going? I spoke up the next day and said, this talking down business is bad for the relationship. He said he feels like I'm a child he's stuck with. Today he went to a nice place and he's changed the plans on me mid-discussion. I said, hold up. I thought we planned to do the day this way. Why are you now about to do this now? And he exploded again, calling me, all my days, a stupid effing child. Well, I got the bus back to the apartment with the only key we have, and he exploded on me again for locking him out when I didn't even know he was at the door. He refused to talk to me when he got to the apartment. I've had enough, so I booked a hotel room for the night. He's still not been in touch. I'm flying home tomorrow to pack up my belongings and find somewhere to stay. Jesus!
So what's the question?
Well, the question is, I need to check my perspective. Did I, 30 female, just throw away everything with my boyfriend because of a simple question? Absolutely not. She should have left him way before this. Because one, how'd you book a holiday? Even if we had planned when we were moving in together that one of us was going to go away, once we moved, even before we moved in together, I'd have expected your plans.
I mean, it's very easy answer. No, she didn't throw it away. She needs to meet somebody who isn't an absolute, I don't know, idiot or...
Yeah, I mean, that's even being nice, but we're being nice on camera because you can't swear. That's wild. Everything down to the talking down to her. You don't move in with someone, and don't get me wrong, I tell you what to do and I ask you to do stuff around the house. But also you do stuff around the house. But you can't speak to someone like a child. It's your home together.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I moved in here, like, well, even before I moved in, you made it so that I was absolutely welcome and it felt like my home. Like, part of the reason I knew I was ready to move in was because my flat didn't feel like my home anymore.
Yeah, I love that.
So, if someone, and like, I think you talked about someone in your personal life, that obviously don't need to say who they are, but about moving in with somebody and made them feel unwelcome.
Yeah.
Like, how do you ask someone the point of moving in and then make them feel like they're not welcome?
Yeah.
In what is supposed to be their home?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it's an easy answer in that no, she hasn't thrown it all away. Obviously, it's a big upheaval to have to move and then move out again.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I imagine this person will look back and think they've absolutely made the right decision
and dodged the
move
bullet.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially after we've just been talking about, are we for or against marriage? Even if you're like this when someone's just moved in with you, what's it gonna be like after? That's wild. Even the whole, how do you choose to make plans? I know I love making plans. I love to be in control of stuff. Too much sometimes. And I do try and let go a little bit. But...
Do you?
I actually do. Shut up. But also, you have to know yourself as a person. You can't be like, I want to plan everything.
I don't like...
Yeah, you don't like...
Well, I mean, I can do it, but I just find it very stressful because... I want it to be right, or I want it to be good, or... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
whereas it actually brings me joy to be organised. Like when we went to England, and that time we went to Liverpool, that everything was planned down to an Excel sheet. I loved that. It was great. But again, when you know your skills as people, it's a balance. You go with, you got your own strengths, I've got my own strengths. You find... And it's even just talking to each other with respect and trying to find a way through it. We've never had an argument. And I joke, and I always make TikToks where I'm like, the one and only time you raised your voice at me is when I nearly crashed and killed us both. And you had every reason to do that. That's the only time you have ever raised your voice. You have never been mad at me. You get mardy yourself. I get mardy. But you've never been mad at me.
I don't even remember
that. When Mlinga nearly missed his flight because he left his passport. Because Mum put it in a safe place.
Yeah, but I don't imagine I was shouting at
you weren't shouting at me.
I probably just reacted to the situation.
Yeah, because to me that's what I mean. That's still the only time you've ever raised it wasn't that you raised your voice at me, but I was the one that was in control of the car and I wasn't paying full attention because I had another agenda on my mind to get his passport. Yeah. So if that is my one and only time in nearly 2 years of us dating, that speaks for itself. Not that we've never disagreed about stuff, not that...
Yeah, we disagree all the time about things, but...
I'm pretty sure it's recorded on here.
Disagreeing
about... Yeah, exactly. That's wild. But anyway, great.
In short, no, you didn't make the wrong decision.
Yeah, exactly. Wild. Anyway, great. So, thank you everyone, and thank you to my co-host for being such a lovely co-host.
Thanks.
And thanks to you guys that like, subscribe, and do all the bits that you do and leave comments because, yeah, we love what we do. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.